This is Wes Holland with H6 Law, and you're listening to The Ascent with Crestmont Private Wealth.
The opinions expressed are those of the host. The material is for informational purposes only. It does not constitute investment advice, and it is not intended as an endorsement for any specific investment. Visit CrestmontPW.com for more details.
Welcome to The Ascent. This is Sam McGee with Crestmont Private Wealth. We have offices in Houston, Texas, and Boerne, Texas. And we're recording today as we are getting poured on with rain, which is an absolute blessing. Very fortunately, I just did a huge landscaping project, not only at my house, but at the Boerne office. So when you're going down Main Street, take a look at 604 South Main, right across from the Oak, and take a look at what we've done there. Very proud of it. Hope you like it as a listener in Boerne to beautify Boerne even more. Today, I've got a really special guest here, Wes Holland, who's with H6 Law Firm, a local Boerne resident. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
So, Wes, we became acquainted through Annie Walther, who works at our office, and had Dark Side Pizza about 6 months ago.
Yes.
And it feels like it's been like 6 years ago, because we've done a lot in 6 months.
It's been nice. It's been cool.
Yeah. So
some interesting stuff.
Yeah, really interesting. So today's show, we're going to talk really about the side of law and the side of kind of the bad guy side of the world of cyber criminals and things that can go wrong, and maybe just open up people's mind to the possibilities of things, what can happen and how they can prevent it. And obviously, this is not what you do on a day-to-day basis. You're not a day-to-day cybersecurity lawyer or anything to that effect, but you see this stuff all the time. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. But I first want to acknowledge you. Thank you very much for doing our Phantom Equity Agreement. Alec and Hannah are now equity partners in Crestmont Private Wealth. And Mr. Holland here helped us with that, which was amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. It's those are the exciting things that we get to do in the law is help somebody achieve dreams, as opposed to what we're going to talk about in a minute of people dealing with the bad guys.
Yeah. So I'll start this off with a funny story, I guess. So Wes and I, back to the whole 6 months equals 6 years, we were very acquainted over the last month and a half. So most people that know me well know that I like classic cars. And I bought an old 77 pickup truck off a not-to-be-named site. A good site, but it shows up and doesn't run and not represented exactly right. And so I called up Mr. Holland, and he worked me, kind of through this and just very practical advice. It was very helpful. It kind of kept me grounded throughout this process. It all worked out. But that was an example of a situation where, things aren't always what they seem, right? So on that thread, let's kind of go and take it over to your side of the practice and some of the things that you see in your day-to-day and what people should be aware of, as they're listening to this.
Absolutely. I would say that when it comes to the bad guys getting your information or using your information or tricking you into doing something you don't want to do, there's really two ways they do it. And the first one is what I will call the passive way. And there's really nothing you can do about it. It's happened to my family. So I'll give that as an example where, you go to the gas station, you insert your card, and there's a spoofing machine in there that some bad guy went and put on that nobody knows about. And the next thing you know, there's $200 to gas in a place you've never been. And that happened to me one Easter when I was looking at it.
Very common.
And so, not legal advice, but what I tell people is, if you can do the thing where you wave it or to tap it, and also maybe don't use your debit card because that's right to your checking account.
That's right.
And it's gone. And your bank will work with you, but the last thing you need is the headache of trying to figure out where all my money went, where if it's on a credit card, yes, it stinks, but you let the credit card deal with it because it's not out of your checking account. And so that's the passive stuff. What I deal with more, though, is the people coming after you, the bad guy, tricking you into doing something either through an email or a phone call. And it's always about money.
Yeah, and we've seen this with anybody that's bought a house, sold a house, all the disclaimers and waivers and things that happen at title companies about wire fraud, that you think about how many people are involved in a real estate transaction, agents, at least two, usually. You've got, people at the firm there that are getting settlement statements and things. And then All it takes is one, right?
It only takes one, and what they're doing is they're monitoring your email without you knowing it because, somehow they got into your email through something else. And they don't attack right away. They sit and wait.
Yeah.
And they watch your emails go back and forth, and it could be one person in that chain or two. And then they figure out what's going on. And they have gotten very intelligent. It's no longer all the misspellings or anything like that. And they'll send an email, okay, it's time to close. Send your money here.
Yep.
And the person is expecting it. They know that. And so they just do it without really looking at it. And so I tell people, take a minute. Look at who it came from. Usually you can tell with the email address because it looks off or it's not a real email address. But, we live in a fast-paced world, and scammers know that, and so they prey on us doing what we thought we were going to do anyway, and we just click it without really looking. And when you're dealing with something of that amount of money, just take a minute. It's okay.
Yeah, I mean, we are in the overbusy generation, and, you think about just the amount of distractions that we have day to day and the amount of pieces of information that we get on these tiny little 2.5 inch by 5 inch screens that we carry around in our pocket. It's just unbelievable. I mean, how many opportunities there are for this. And this isn't the first time we've had this topic on the show. And there's a reason for that. It's because in wealth management, it is about wealth preservation and protection as well. And so protecting your identity, protecting your information is very much a big part of wealth management. That's why we're talking about this today, to make sure that your hard-earned money, your earnings, your savings, your investments are protected. And that starts with kind of cybersecurity and basics. What kind of tips would you give them so it maybe doesn't, some proactive steps?
I mean, the biggest tip I'll give is urgency. Everybody wants to prey on urgency. They get you on the phone. They do not want you to get off the phone. So they're going to tell you, you have to do this right now to make this right, or the deal's going to go away, or you're going to get in trouble. And so they kind of play on our base fears, right? And there's nothing in the world, and I promise there's no bank or financial institution or law firm or legal department at a sheriff's department that is going to have something happen in the next 5 seconds.
Right.
Take your time. The second bit of advice I'll give you, and it might be the best, is trust your gut. I've talked to so many people that went through this, and they say, I kind of knew something was off, but I was doing it and it seemed normal. If it doesn't seem right, hang up the phone and call back to where you think you were talking to, because that person's probably not there, but they make you think they are, because you can't tell on your phone. And I get calls all the time, and they'll say law office. It's not a law office calling me, and I know it the minute I pick up. And so they're smart. They know I'm a lawyer, and so they're spoofing law firm to try to get me on the phone.
Interesting. Yeah. And with the rise of AI and artificial intelligence and the ability to recreate somebody's voice, I've even heard that on your voicemail to not actually leave your voice, because they're getting so sophisticated they can then replicate your voice, which is really scary, right? So that's a reminder for me. I'll be changing my voicemail as soon as we leave.
Well, that, and they also say, if you get a call and it says spam, not to answer it,
right?
Because sometimes you're saying hello, and they're just trying to get your voice. That's all they're trying to do. They're recording you, hoping you say more, and then they're going to use it for something later. So I was the world's worst. I'll talk to a spam person for a second, and I've learned not to, just because that's out there where they're spoofing our voices. And then, back to AI, they're using AI to write the emails now, and the emails look very professional that come through. I mean, they look real.
Yes.
We're used to, I hate to say it, you could kind of pick up what a spam was pretty quick.
Yeah.
There was a lot of misspellings. It was, kind of discombobulated, but now it's professional, and I see them because, I represent some family businesses, and they'll send me the email, and it looks great. Usually I can pick up from where the email came from, or I've already dealt with it from another client, and I'll say, that's spam, don't respond.
Yeah.
Trash it.
Yeah, interesting. And so, we've seen a few cases, I know you have too, where recovery has happened when someone's been scammed, and usually timing is of the essence. We were just talking about this before the show. It used to be, you said, 48 hours, generally you're probably going to be able to recover, but the speed of money now with crypto and everything else that's out there, and the ability to, get things overseas, it's more like, hey, same day, you need to be on it.
First 12 hours is really the most critical, to get a hold of your bank, have them stop the transfer out. because unfortunately 9 times out of 10, once the transfer is gone out, it's overseas, crypto, and gone, and you're not going to get that back. And people say, well, who can I go after? Even if you had somebody to go after, they don't have the money anymore.
Yeah, it's gone.
You're dealing with criminals.
Yep. Well, yeah, you've taught me, some things about that too. I mean, in terms of the ability to recover, that's not something you want to be dealing with. It's more of stopping, kind of like a triage in EMS, stopping the bleed, so to speak. Right. That's more important than anything sometimes in a crisis situation. So speed is very important. And then also just awareness and gut is what I'm hearing from you. Right. Making sure you trust your gut. So, as we think about those listeners that are out there right now that might be a little older, we're all getting older. I'm turning over some more miles on my odometer as well. But, people that are older, what would you tell maybe their children, their adult children? What are some things that they can do to protect their parents?
Set up, there are companies out there that multi-factor authentication, that's great. Where like if somebody's trying to give you something, it's got to bounce back to you before it happens. So that's wonderful. Also, just have a discussion with yourself and your older parents that if somebody calls you and asks for money, don't give it to them. Yep. I don't care if they say they're your bank or, this went around for a while and some very smart people got worried about it and called me, and it sounds so plausible, but it doesn't happen. It's this: you missed jury duty or you missed this thing, there's a fine. We're going to come get you unless you pay the fine of $1,000 to $1,500, and then we won't come arrest you. And I jokingly tell people, law enforcement does not call and tell you they're going to arrest you. That's a scam.
Yep.
Never fall for it. Your bank doesn't call you and ask for money. The IRS does not call and ask you for money. And so just, get used to, I'm never going to give somebody my credentials over the phone unless I call them back. And I think that's the best thing. Hang up and call them back.
Yep.
Call back whoever you think it is calling you.
Yeah. And another thing to think about too is there's fraud that occurs with people that are very giving. And so, you might be thinking you're helping that charity out by being public about where you've donated, as an example, or maybe, on social media, hey, for my birthday, I'm going to do this, maybe a certain foundation, et cetera, et cetera. If that's public, scammers see that. There's algorithms out there that pick that up. And so, be discriminate, be anonymous, be careful with your information, because everything that's out there in the public domain, they're going to use in order to try to, target you. So, gosh, that was a really uplifting subject, right? Goodness gracious. But honestly, I think it's important for people to hear this, because in the wealth management arena, in the legal arena, everyone works so hard to protect what they have and to grow it, and then to live off of what they've produced, to spend, to invest, to save, to give. And having that taken so quickly and easily with a simple mistake is preventable. You just, you have to be very cautious.
A little diligence and a little skepticism, and it'll be okay.
Yeah, that's right. So I guess on more cheery subjects, give the listeners an example of some of the things you work on that kind of light your fire, that you're passionate about. What do you enjoy doing at your practice?
I think, for me, if I was going to say what I enjoy most in my practice, we have to go back a little bit in time. I'm the youngest in the family. I have siblings. My dad worked very hard for a living. He was a cowboy. He worked on ranches, didn't own ranches. He worked on them. And then when he retired from being able to do that, he and my mom had a little family business together, and all of my siblings have small businesses. And I'm passionate about helping that family businesses achieve their dreams, achieve their goals, working with them, because, you don't have to be a Fortune 500 company to deserve having a lawyer help you. And so, day in and day out, I jokingly say we take care of family businesses, and then we take care of their family business, because it kind of all goes together.
Yeah, that's good.
And so, we help with the business side. I'd like to think we're very good at that, but we also do probate and estate planning, because business transition plans, phantom equity, helping people, work out their business side as well as their family side. And it kind of all goes together. And I love helping them. And I like seeing people, achieve their goals. And we've had some companies that we started out with years ago that are actually quite big now. And it's just fun to help them on a day-to-day basis. But, we're there for everybody. And I saw it from how I grew up. I want everybody to have access to quality legal care so they can achieve their dreams.
Yeah. And what I've really enjoyed about getting to know you is, you take a very practical approach. As in my banking days, I remember the phrase whipping the file is what some lawyers will do, and you certainly don't do that.
No, absolutely not. I mean, I jokingly say, I'm not here to make money off of you. I'm here to make money, but I have clients. I want to help you achieve your goals. I'm not trying to take away from you. And that's just not the way we operate. And there's some things I'll tell them, you don't need to do that. I'm not going to charge you to do something you don't need to do. And so we always want to give good advice. We want to give practical advice, and sometimes that advice isn't the most fun to hear, but we try to make it palatable and deal with it.
Yeah, that's great. So really quick, I know you spent some time on the rebrand of your site, and your name H6 is really unique. Maybe just share a little bit about how you came up with that name and where someone could find you. They've already, heard that you're close to Dark Side Pizza. So.
Yep. Oh, H6Law, h6law.com. The H stands for Holland, and then the 6 is I'm fortunate to work with my wife every day. She is an integral part of our business, keeps everything going at the firm, and then we have 4 children. There's 6 of us. And so we've always said, Holland Party of 6 is what we'd always hear at restaurants. And so I just condensed it down to H6Law because, we are a family business at the end of the day, no different than the family businesses that we're helping. And that's what I want everybody to see is, we're approachable. If you go look at the website at h6law.com, there's deer, there's horses, there's cowboys, there's saddles, no boardrooms, because that's not what we are. We're lawyers, but we're people, and we want to help.
Very Boerne. Love that. All right. Well, I think that's all we have time for today. Wes, thank you so much for joining us. I think this is going to be a really good show for people to kind of sit back and maybe take a different path when they hear that scam call, and now they know where to find you. Thank you for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Have a great weekend, and God bless.